Every class is totally different, and that's the thing that you realize that a class isn't about, like, it's not necessarily about a teacher, it's not necessarily about a topic, it's about everyone in the class.
I'm Jen Messier, and I'm part of the brainery.
Jonathan Soma, and we're at Gowanus Studio Space in beautiful Gowanus, Brooklyn. So basically the story was that we would take classes all the time, and once you're out of school, you actually have to pay for them, and they end up being expensive.
You always have to pay for them even when you're in school.
Yeah, but usually your parents pay for those, so it's okay.
Things in New York, though, are like obscenely expensive a lot of times. You know, like we took a welding class, and it was $300 or $400 for like, you know, three short sessions, and you know, you can go to a lecture that can be great, but can also run you like $25 for a single night, which when you're sort of, you know, just out of school, you can't be doing that all the time, so.
I was taking classes at FIT doing just like random things. I took a class about how to make shoes. I took a class about like how accessories design interacts with your body and all kinds of crazy stuff. Those classes cost a lot. And then, but I was fine paying it. And then I wanted to take a class about perfume. And they wouldn't let me in. And they said that I didn't have the prerequisites for it. The prerequisites were basically just really boring classes. They didn't have anything to do with anything. And I thought, look, I'm trying to give you, you know, $600 to take a class. Why won't you let me in? And I thought, I don't need to take the class there. I could probably just go on Wikipedia, you know, read a couple books and know everything that I would be taught in that class. The problem is with doing that is everyone is really lazy. So you never do that by yourself. So what you need is basically a support group of people who would come together in order to, you know, all do that together. And the idea of classes being expensive and being able to research on your things on your own kind of came together when we made the brainery, because we wouldn't have to charge a lot if we got a cheap space because we wouldn't have to pay for a teacher. And then all we would have to do was slightly organize a class around a topic, make people research things, and then they would come in. And, you know, we'd be able to get some learning done. But the point of it isn't me to be like, here's how everything is set in stone, you know. The point is to have a conversation with everyone else. I'm teaching Ethiopian, Korean, Thai, and Indian, and I don't have any, like, I'm not a cook.
No training whatsoever?
No training whatsoever. All of this comes from me just hanging around grocery stores, reading cookbooks, and trying to put things together. So...
You're self-educated?
Self-educated, yes. We had a class about perfume, and one of the people who wanted to get into the class was like a perfume educator, and they go around and they work for a perfume company, and they like teach the people who sell the perfume how to talk about it and like what goes into it and why that goes into it and all that. And like that's the cool thing about the brainery is that people like that will want to take the class because it's not like a top-down, like I'm going to teach you things. It's more collaborative, so they would have a chance to share their thing, but also there's not some teacher and they'd be like, oh, I know more than this teacher, so I'm out of here, you know, there's, you know.
It's okay to know more than the teacher. That's part of this.
Yeah,
plan,
yeah.
Right?
So I would be so happy if people knew more than me. One level down from this class is had a class last night about whiskey. I don't know anything about whiskey. Like, I don't really drink whiskey. I don't necessarily like whiskey. But I thought it was a really interesting topic. So I did a lot of research, and the people who took the class, they like to drink whiskey, so they know what they're talking about somewhat. And so we come in, and I know, you know, like I have like the book smart.
Right.
And so I say, I've read about this, I know about these percentages and how this stuff goes together. And then they can say, well, here's what it means when you're actually drinking it. And so I bring, like they bring experience, and I bring, you know, like the book knowledge, I guess. I taught a class about wood. And it's like, what do people know about wood? Like, you have wood around you all the time, but you don't necessarily know anything about it. So for a class like that, we assign vocabulary to everyone. And so we have a sheet online that's maybe 20 different terms, and you randomly get assigned, say, 2 of them. And it's your job to research those like crazy, and then you come to class and say someone's an expert on red oak, and someone's an expert about tyloses, which are something that I don't know about, but they're a certain type of vein that exists inside of wood. And so someone can come in and talk all about that, and then someone can come in who learn about, like cypress trees and white oak, and everyone has a piece of the puzzle, and then it all comes together, and you end up having experts, like micro experts.
And that is largely how it works, although let's talk about surprises, because, I think when we first started, we did not have as clear of an outline as we do now going into each and every class. Like, we plan, I write incredibly detailed notes before I do anything now, and I think when we first started, it was at least we had this idea in our head that it would just be loose and it would all work out because everybody would just, spontaneously, say what they knew. And, we would have these perfect puzzle pieces coming together. And it didn't work quite that way because people sometimes, they don't want to talk. A lot of people, I think, do come in here looking for a more traditional sort of top-down experience. And so when they're asked to take on this piece of knowledge, there's some reluctance at first, and that's why sometimes I think the first week is often a little tough, and then people kind of get the idea, and it gets a little looser from there. And I think we weren't setting out, we did this somewhat consciously, but we weren't trying to create
a new paradigm.
Yeah, it's just sort of this is how the only way we were sort of able to lead a class about something we didn't know. And I think one of the lessons that we've learned as we've done more and more semesters is that you have to be really upfront with people about the whole taking ownership of a topic. I think we used to sort of sneak it in backdoor and be like, oh, go to this website, you're going to get assigned a couple terms, and these are, you just research it, find some fun facts. Whereas I know for this particular class I led the other day, I was sort of very upfront in the email, and I was just like, class only works if everybody else talks, and it's really boring to listen to me talk. I'm not an expert on this. It's a hell of a lot more interesting to hear what people say. And that worked for that particular class. Will it always work? Probably not.
The brainery is an idea that people get excited about, and they seem to understand it, but then they come to class, and they're like, oh, it's a class.
Yeah,
we know what a class is. A class is someone standing up there talking to me, and I just take notes about it.
Yeah.
Whereas we want people to kind of reimagine what a class is.